Good morning. Today we're discussing management and how management impacts our daily business environment. And so what I will be doing is for the next 15 minutes is to put these videos for you available so you can review chapter 6. So as we go through chapter 6, you will see and hear the overall lecture regarding this particular session. So we're going to focus on the nature of management. So today there are many learning objectives. Of course, defining what is management. When you hear people talking about it, most of us aren't really sure what it means. Well, today we'll talk about the major functions of management, how it's different at various levels, and basically how you too can be a great manager in your respective business life. Now let's look at what they call management versus managers. Of course, management includes this really overall arching program. Management is a process designed to achieve an organization's objectives. And they do that by really maintaining and working through this ever-changing dynamic environment. And doing so, you have to look at whether or not you're effective or whether or not you're efficient. Hopefully you're doing a combination of both. Those people who are managers, and I will extend the screen a little bit here to be able to kind of get into all of the pieces of the slide, is that you can actually see that management and managers are different. There are different levels at various points, and so we'll talk about that a little bit more in class here. These individuals who are managers are those who make decisions, and they do all the additional work. They help plan, they help organize, they help find staffing, they look at managing how the organization is operating, and they are really key individuals in an organization as it relates to management versus managers. So it's a very good opportunity for you to just know the difference between the two. Now this is going to be how we'll operate. I have to do it a little manually here. But the importance of management is the fact that every organization that's out there has to get items, goods, and services that are available to pre-purchase through their business. So you look at how do you do that? You do that by a variety of different options. By your employees, by getting suppliers, and of course, paying for those really important resources. Now, employees, of course, are all about staffing and whether or not you're going to keep the employees, you got to downsize them, etc. Like, for example, right now during this virus that that's impacted our entire life, it is changing the way we manage our business. And so you're hearing a number of businesses that are making adjustments. You're hearing businesses that are closing. There are so many things that are happening as it relates to the business environment. Acquiring suppliers, so you probably are hearing about there's various companies that purchase and manufacture products overseas. Well, you have to just realize that that's just kind of the world that we're in. Now that we're impacted by these global markets, everything is based on suppliers. And then the financial resources, of course, to pay for those essential services. Now, my slide is a little bit cut off here at the bottom, but be sure to pull down the slides that you happen to see that you have in your Canvas at this time. Trying to advance the slides here. So management function includes all these areas. I really have enjoyed working in the environment of management. Matter of fact, I love it because it allows you to really touch all areas and aspects of business. When you're looking at the management function, there are 4 key areas associated with management and all these activities. Now, of course, when you're running your own business, you tend to do all of these things, but just give you an idea that there's a figure 6.1 that pretty much organizes all of these functions in your book on page 173. But planning, organizing, directing, and controlling are all important functions in a management. So you're planning to make sure that you simply understand the crucial activities and map it out. You basically are doing kind of the ground level work to be sure that everything is just right. Of course, you're organizing, you're trying to make sure that you're prepared for that. You're making sure employees are getting to their respective location, and you basically are keeping things on track. And that is one key function of management. So planning allows you to look at the mission, for example. You'll see the mission here. It allows you to look at your goals and objectives. And really, objectives are very interesting because objectives are measurable statements on common issues such as profit, competitive advantage, efficiency, and growth. And that is a really critical point of a business to make sure you have all those things in place. Now you hear about strategic plans, and really you're building one of those when you're developing your business plan. So these plans are short term in some cases, but really typically they're more longer term in nature. So these are long term plans. When you hear about what we call a strat plan, these actually look at how is your company going to fulfill their mission, typically within a 1 year to 5 year window. Now there may be some actionable short-term steps in those, but it includes everything and covers a variety of different options available for the business itself to do its business. You also have these things called tactical plans. Tactical plans is basically how we're going to do what we're going to do. As I mentioned earlier in the strategic plan, it's more big picture, large-scale planning, long-term. Short-term planning is typically the tactical plan. How do you design to get things done in a short period of time? And so that usually covers it. So, for example, companies such as Mercedes-Benz or Volkswagen or these large companies, they typically will have these plans available, and they push those down in the organizations to ensure they can manage the business at hand, but also make changes if something were to happen very quickly. Operational plans are very short term. These are plans that basically have specific actions available to them. And for example, if you're in a work group and each week you have to meet a certain goal, or you're looking at how you can make sure that your organization where you work is rolling up to whatever the strategic plan is, then the operational plan sets those things in motion so you can apply and execute very easily. And really the operational level is where there's a lot of work that's done in that area. So, for example, a retail store with a 5-year plan invests $5 billion in 500 new retail stores may develop 5 tactical plans that covers each of the years. So you look at that and think, okay, well, I've got a 5-year plan, but how do we get there? And so that additional planning allows you to see how you're going to make it happen to get there within that time period. So those tactical operational plans allow you to do just that. Another example as well, kind of more insightful, tactical plans designed to execute on the overall strategic plan, which I just spoke about. And then operational plan has things such as I need to obtain merchandise, we need to hire people, etc. And so you can read a lot more about that in your book on page 176. Gives you a lot of good information that you can take a look at as well. Crisis management, this is the world I live in. I've shared that with you guys as well. But crisis management or contingency planning or business continuity, all of those help you to try to mitigate the risk that may happen when there's a critical issue in your business. 25% of businesses fail to reopen after a serious disaster. You can look at what's happening right now and see that this is where we are. We're in a disastrous situation where businesses are closing. People can't get health care. We're pretty much hunkered down in their locations. So it's a different environment. So having a crisis mitigation plan helps to be able to at least have some control during these times, even though there's a high degree of uncertainty. So when you're organizing, you're doing a number of other things as well. So you're putting everything in place. So managers help to do all these things. As we mentioned earlier, managers have these 4 different big buckets. They plan, they organize, they direct, and they control. So that's important that we do that. So the structured resources and activities to accomplish objectives help to do all these things. Establishes a line of authority, improves communication. It helps to avoid what is called duplication of resources and really makes you more competitive. This is where it gets exciting in business. And so, of course, directing is not simply telling people what to do per se, but simply to administer the rewards and recognitions potentially, to make sure they're there. Like right now, for example, we're not on campus, so Sanford has had to put initiatives in place for our employees, for the students, and for the people who are working who are not in the classrooms. So everything has been impacted by the leadership and management and how they're going to move forward in this new environment. So you can really relate to that as it stands right now. And so controlling has very similar implications as you're looking at evaluating and correcting activities to keep the organization going. So those are the 4 key buckets as it relates to what managers do. So if someone says, hey, I'm majoring in management, you'll know they're looking at controlling how a business operates as an overall planning, how they look at resources, how they direct, etc. Now, there are always these levels of management. Now, you may see in this pyramid and think, oh yeah, I'm going to automatically be here at the top, where there is a number of managers who are called the middle, or I should say the first line management, who basically are your foreman, your entry-level supervisor, your office managers. And then you have the middle level as well of plant managers and those who are over the people in the first line. And then you have this tight little pyramid at the very top that shows you that there are a number of people who are VPs, senior executives, etc., and they are at the top of the triangle because it's fewer of them. And so that's why that's illustrated that way. So our next slide should actually be able to populate here. Let's see if I can get to it. And it allows us to, okay, there you go. Time spent on management, just high level. You can see what's most important on the y-axis, and then what the item is. So you can actually look at this information based on what's most important, what's the least important. Top managers look at planning and organizing. Middle managers, they look at organizing and staffing. They've got to get things done. First line managers, they're trying to make sure they're directing and controlling and getting the work done. So it depends on how your organization is structured and where you are. Top managers, of course, you've heard these terminologies, hopefully. Chief Executive Officer, Chief Financial Officer, Chief Operations Officer. There are also terminologies such as Chief People Officer, Chief Human Resources Officers. All these are different terminologies for those folks who are really high level in your organization. And they typically, they're CEO level in some organizations. They work for a board of directors. And that board of directors helps to control the organization and control and hire the CEO. Longer conversation on that, but I just want to give you high level how that works. Really interesting and probably exciting to see, they're highly compensated. So you can see that in that slide. Let me go back to that as well. So you can take a look at some of those people. Some you may remember, some you may not, but it gives you an idea that there's a lot of compensation for these executives. 5 rules of successful diversity in business. Wow, there are so many of them. There are a number of these because people want different minds and interests and expertise in a room when you're managing your business. You want to involve your employees. You want to communicate. You want to delegate resources, support the overall initiative, and basically promote the fact that you're open to diverse ideas because it helps to lend itself to a successful recruiting effort. And then you get better ideas when everybody gets a chance to put their insight into one particular area or managing one particular business. Now, I'm going to skip through some of this as well, but you'll see that middle managers are responsible for the tactical plan. They kind of get things done as well. And then you have your first line managers. This is really kind of your entry-level managers who really do a great job, but they are on the ground making things happen. Areas of management give you a lot more information here as well. Talked about the different functions of management. You will see that in your book on page 183, that you have financial managers, production managers, etc., and of course HR managers and those other managers, marketing managers, IT managers. So this is just an area of letting you know that management is broad. It's not a one siloed area. So if you're communicating and you're interested in management and business, which is what my background is, this is where we excel because we handle these sort of respective areas. Managerial roles can be based on a number of things. If you think about how you are built, you will notice that there are certain skills that you just feel you're better at. Those people who are decisional are typically negotiators, they're resource allocators, they may be entrepreneurs, etc. Informational, managerial roles include monitoring, getting information out. They could be the spokesperson, they could be using their interpersonal skills as well. And so you can review more of that in your book as well. Technical expertise, very important that you know what you're doing. Specialized knowledge and training. So when people ask, are you technical? They're really asking you, do you have the knowledge and the training and the skills to do the job that they're asking you about or planning for? Conceptual skills. How do you think? college is about thinking strategically and thinking conceptually. So I'm going to end this video here, but I will pick it back up in the next section on part B.